Hey guys, welcome to Chaos Unfiltered. I'm your host Abby, and today we're going to be talking about airports. And honestly, this is a podcast episode just for me to rant about airports, airlines, shit like that, because I just got home from a trip, and honestly, I had a lot of problems at the airport this time. But I'm going to save that till the end and try and go more like in a chronological order. Hopefully, I don't get sidetracked, but we'll see. So I'm not like super cultured in different like airlines, anything like that. Like I think I've only been on 3 different airlines and I haven't traveled a ton either, right? So I haven't been to a shit ton of different airports either. I couldn't tell you how many airports I've been to, but I know I've been on probably 5 round trip flights, so 10 planes in total, right? Let's do the math. Actually, that's wrong because I had a layover at one. But regardless, I'm not super cultured, but I am not a huge fan of the airport. I love flying. I'm always going to fly because I just don't see the point in getting in a car and driving however fucking long when I could get on a plane and get there so much quicker. Like, that's what I'm going to do every time. Like, when I first got on a plane for the very first time, I was a little nervous, right? I was like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about this. We could go down. Plane crashes are a big thing, right? So I was nervous. But after the first flight, I was like, oh, this is lovely. Like, the takeoff is hard. Sometimes the landing is hard. But honestly, like, in between, the only problem is that, like, I like to get up and I get fidgety. And I kind of have to suffer through that. But it's not that bad. So for me, my first experience with airports, airlines, honestly could have been better too. I'm not gonna lie. We were going to Florida. It was me, some friends, and my mom and my brother. And we had checked in for the flight. We were ready to go. And it was during the time that I think that all the pilots were like boycotting, trying to get more money. I don't remember, but it was during those times. And so it's about 10 hours before our flight, and it gets fucking canceled. So I'm scatterbrained, like, I don't know what to fucking do. I was about to go to bed so we could wake up early in the morning to get on the fucking plane, but we don't have a plane to get on anymore, right? So obviously that's super stressful, and I end up on the phone with the airline trying to figure it out, and they're like, not really being too accommodating. They're like, we can get you on a new flight the next day. And I was like, no, I need to be on the flight tomorrow. Like, we were going to Disney World, right? So you have to, one, you've already bought your tickets, and then you have to check in at, like, what park you're going to be at what day, right? So that way they're not, like, overcrowded or something like that. Even though Disney's always crowded anyway, so I don't really think it matters. But anyways, like, we had to do that. So, and I took PTO on this, right? Like, I don't have the extra time. Like, I'm on PTO now. I'm trying to get on my flight and go have my vacation. So they just weren't being like super accommodating. I was like, okay, like if you can't get me on a flight tomorrow, like book me with a different airline. And they were like, no, we can't do that because we have flights available for that on the next day. And I was like, but that's not the day I need to leave. And for some reason they weren't accommodating that. I don't know. So I just asked for a refund. That's all fine. I got a different flight, right? But that different flight cost me $300 more fucking dollars because it was last minute. So that fucking sucked. Obviously, like, I wasn't expecting to pay $300 more dollars. So our plane tickets were fucking astronomical at that point. But by that point, everyone else had paid for everything else for the trip, the Airbnb, the Disney World tickets, all of that. So, like, we were all getting on a plane. So we were all going to spend the fucking money. We get on the plane. It's fine. Everything's great. We land in Tampa. Also fine. I mean, it is confusing. Tampa Airport is really big. It's confusing. You have to ride that, like, the train down to get your luggage, all of that shit. It was a little confusing, but we did it. It was honestly the flight back from that trip that, like, then was traumatizing and then made me maybe not a huge fan of Tampa Airport. Like, TSA was very strict. And I get it, right? Like, you're by the water. There's probably a lot of other shady shit going on. But fuck. I ended up packing a container of sand, obviously over the limit that you were supposed to for a carry-on. I had a checked bag. I forgot that needed to go in my checked bag and I wouldn't have had a problem. So it is partly on me. I get it. I understand. But they ended up pulling my bag. They had to do additional like tests on it, right? Make sure like the sand wasn't like gunpowder or like anything like that. And the TSA agent was kind of rude, and I get it. It's probably a long day, all of that. But they're like, "Why do you even need this sand? All of this?" And they're like, "Where are you from?" And I told them, and they're like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah, like I'm landlocked. Can I please have my sand?" It was good. I got the sand. Obviously, I still have the sand. It's in a nice, pretty little container. So if a TSA agent is watching this, I still have that sand. I went through security at TSA fine besides the carry-on issue. One of my friends that I was traveling with had a claw clip in her hair, and they like had to pat her down, like shove the claw clip in her hair, basically to make sure there wasn't anything in it. I just feel like it would have been easier to be like, "Hey, can you take the claw clip out?" Whatever. And then my brother ended up getting like gunpowder tested and like patted down and all of this other shit. And it was just very stressful. There was only one person in our group that made it clear sailing through Tampa TSA with no problem. So good for them. The rest of us had a terrible time. The next flight I went on, I think it was the next flight, honestly, wasn't too bad. This one did have a layover. It was my very first time having a flight that had a layover. And so that made me a little nervous because I have heard really bad things about layovers. Luckily, this layover was like 40 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. And we weren't even supposed to get off the plane. Keyword, supposed to get off the plane. We did end up having to change to a different plane. And I think we landed, our layover was in like Austin or something. We had to change planes and get off the plane, which kind of sucks because it was like, we basically had priority seating then, right? Like, we stayed on the plane. We could move if we needed to. Like, I was next to my friend. It was great. Whatever, we get off the plane. We're like, it is what it is. And we're like, but how do they know, like, we were like, how do they know that we need to be on this plane? Like, we don't have another boarding pass because we weren't supposed to get off the plane. That was easy. They already knew how to do that. And luckily, they actually did let us go on the plane first and pick our seats. So I was pretty grateful for that. Honestly, that was a great experience. I flew into Arizona there. Honestly, no complaints. I mean, getting off that plane, getting on the plane in Phoenix, pretty smooth sailing. Like, no complaints. I got a rental car there, and it was easy pickup, easy drop off, all of that good stuff. So, definitely no complaints. I also went to Dallas. Well, I flew into Dallas. And honestly, that flight was fine too. It was the first time the person I was with was flying that airline because they were nervous. They were like, "Oh, I've heard bad things about this, all of that." And I was like, I usually always fly this airline. It's not a problem. Like, we can fly something else, but it's going to be more expensive, so take what you want. They ended up being fine with it. We went. Honestly, no complaints. The only complaint I could find is that getting to the car rental area at the airport was so fucking confusing in Dallas. We ended up having to like take a bus down the road, and then you had to stand in this line, and then drop off was confusing because it like didn't tell you if you could just like leave the car and get on the bus. The bus driver ended up coming to me and was like, "Hey, are you just dropping off the car?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You don't have to stay in this line. The keys are in there. Like, you're good. Just get on the bus and we can go." And I was like, "Okay, great." I felt a little weird, but it worked out. It was fine. Again, no complaints about that airport at all, to be honest. It was pretty easy. I'm pretty sure that was the airport that had like a car in it for some reason. I don't know. It was weird. But my last airport experience is the one that really pissed me off, which is why I'm talking about airports, airlines in fucking general, because my whole trip was great. It was just the airport issue of it all was not so fun. So this time on this flight was the very first time that I didn't do like a round trip flight. Like I booked through one airline there and booked a different airline home, because booking a round trip through the first airline, to come home the day I needed to, it was like $500 for a ticket. I was like, there is no way in hell I'm paying $500 to fly from Florida to where I need to go. No way am I doing that at all. So I found a different airline. Obviously, one of the known for crappier airlines. You get what you pay for. I understand that. But honestly, that flight wasn't bad. It was just everything that happened before I got on the plane. Leaving to go to Florida, I had a delay, which is the very first time I've ever had a delay on a flight, to be honest. It was a 30-minute delay. Honestly, it wasn't that bad. I hadn't even left to go to the airport yet, so that was pretty nice. So I just waited and chilled out a little bit more before I needed to go to the airport. Once I got there, great. I will say, like, the TSA here is amazing. And honestly, like, that's one of the reasons why I haven't done TSA pre-check. I have thought about doing TSA pre-check just because for other airports, like, I know it gets you through quicker. I know it, like, helps with that. And honestly, when I was, like, looking it up while I was waiting for my other flight, it's not that expensive, it looks like. So I'm definitely probably going to get TSA pre-check. If you've listened to any of my previous podcasts, you've heard me say I want to travel a lot more this year. So I think TSA pre-check would be an amazing idea for me, and especially for someone that wants to travel a lot, right? So I'm definitely going to look into it. I'm definitely probably going to get it later on. And maybe I'll do a podcast about it later once I have more information on it, once I've used TSA pre-check enough times to really, like, talk about it, right? Anyways, getting to Florida was fine. It was easy. I got off the plane. I text my friend, I'm off the plane, all of that. I checked their location. I'm like, what the fuck? They're not at the airport. And honestly, this isn't even about the airport at all. Like, the airport was not to blame. It was my friend. It was traffic. It was the fact that Orlando Airport has different terminals and they didn't know where to go. Because that's one thing I will say, is that I feel like operating inside an airport is really easy if you're the one traveling, all of that. I feel like, honestly, it's so much harder to operate the airport when you're going to pick someone up. Like, I've been that person that has to go pick someone up, and I'm like, where the fuck do I go? Like, the signs just don't help that much, right? So it's a little confusing for sure. Anyways, they finally get to the airport, right? Like, at this point, I'm already hungry. I'm annoyed because I got off the plane. I thought I was going to get right in the car. It was going to be great. Whatever. I end up calling my friend because I'm like, it says you're here. Where are you? And they're like, come to this gate. And I was like, that gate does not exist where I'm at. And they're like, I'm looking right at it. And I was like, and I'm telling you, this only goes to this number gate. And they're like, so where am I? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, okay, we'll go down another set of, like, the escalators or whatever. Went down. I don't know where the fuck I ended up. It was not the right place. They ended up getting out of the car and asking. They ended up being at the complete wrong terminal. So that was great. They finally got to me. And by the time they got to me, like, I was fine. It was just annoying. Like, no one likes being stuck at the airport, especially when you're hungry. And, like, literally I was sitting at the airport little, like, food court area, I guess. And it was later when I landed. So while I was waiting on my friend, I'm on FaceTime with my parents. And they just start stacking the chairs and cleaning all the tables next to me. And I was like, I'm basically getting kicked out of the food court, and I'm casually just trying to wait on my friend. So that was annoying. But once he got there, it was fine. We were good, smooth sailing from there, right? Besides getting to the wrong terminal and all that. But once he got to the right terminal, we were great. So not much to complain about the airport airlines on that, on like getting there. It was coming home. And I will say I flew out of Sanford going home, so a different airport. It's a small airport. If you know, like, it's usually the shittier flights, right? So you definitely get what you pay for. And I was okay with that. I've flown the sister company a time before, and I had no problems getting to and from where I needed to go. So I was like, fuck, this will be fine. And honestly, when I was on the plane, when we were up in the air, it was fine. It was just everything leading up to getting on the fucking plane. So, first off, I get inside the building. I get to TSA, which was a little confusing to get to. Um, but whatever, I get there. They're moving a little slow. This is another reason why I think I just need TSA pre-check, just because I like to get in and get out, and like I just want to get to my gate. I'm definitely like the type A person, like I want to get there, I want to make sure I'm on time, all of that good shit, right? Anyways, they did end up getting us through, honestly, pretty quickly. The TSA agents there were really nice. They were goofing around, having a good time, which I feel like you don't see a lot from TSA agents, and maybe it is because it's a smaller airport, so they can get away with that stuff a little bit more. But it wasn't bad getting through TSA. I was a little nervous that my stuff was going to get stopped just because I had, like, I built a droid in Disney World, so I was like, is this going to get through TSA in my checked bag? Like, I don't see a reason why it wouldn't, but I don't know. I always get nervous about that shit. But it was fine. I get to the gate I'm supposed to get on the plane at, all that. I'm hanging out. I'm there like an hour and a half early because I'm definitely that person that likes to be at the airport early. And then I look at the screen and I figure just because I'm there early, like that's why it has like the wrong destination, right? And then it gets closer to time and I look at the screen again. I'm like, it still says this place that I'm not going to. And I look at my boarding pass and it still says the gate that I'm at. And I was like, I'm so confused. So I get on the app, I look at my boarding pass on there, and it's a different gate. But because I downloaded it to my Apple Wallet or whatever, it didn't update, which kind of pissed me off. I have 30 minutes before I'm supposed to board at this point. I'm on the complete opposite side of the airport. Luckily, it's not a huge airport, so it's not that bad. But, like, here my anxiety's spiking. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I fucked up. Fuck. All of that shit. I ended up getting to the correct gate perfectly fine. It was a little confusing because the gate that I ended up having to go to, you couldn't like sit right outside of. It was like labeled gates like 5 through 9 or something, and then there was just an area you all sat because you just went down a little like hallway to get to it. I don't know. It was weird. Small airport things, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, I get there, all of that, and then they come on the intercom and they're like, flight is delayed. Like, the plane is there, but for some reason we can't get on the plane. And they're like, we'll give you more information as we have. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm at a small airport, right? So you can't change your flight easily. There's not another flight out to where I need to go. And I was like, if they cancel this flight, like, what the fuck do I do? At this point, like, my friend can't come and pick me up. They're an hour and a half away from this airport. They have to work tomorrow, so, like, I'm sleeping at this airport, if anything. And my pet peeve here was that, like, they just weren't giving that many updates, right? Like, I was getting the notifications from the airline on my phone more than they were updating us in person, which was kind of fucking annoying. And they would update us in person. They're like, yeah, you probably saw on your phone, like, you were supposed to board at 8:30. Obviously, that's not happening because it's 8:20. There's no way we're starting to board. We haven't gotten any other updates, all that shit. By the way, my flight was supposed to board at 6:30. We were supposed to take off by 7. So at this point, like, everyone's already a little grumpy, right? Like, we were supposed to be on the plane. It's 8:30. We were almost supposed to be landing at our destination by this fucking point. We get another notification. It's like, oh, it's going to be this time. Hits that time. Still nothing. They're like, oh, they're doing test, like, runs or something with the plane. Like, they do get on the intercom and say that. And I was like, okay, this sounds really sketchy. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to die on this plane, I guess. And during all of this, like 2.5 hours in, probably, I would say. They get on the intercom, everyone gets excited, like, oh, flight, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, oh, yes, we're gonna board. And they're like, sorry for the delay. Like, we have refreshments up at the counter if you want to come get them. We have Coke, Diet Coke, and Sprite. I was like, that's fucking dumb. Like, I don't want that shit. Anyways, I didn't go and get it. But then they get on the intercom right after. They're like, actually, we have Coke, Diet Coke, and water. They don't even have Sprite. Like, I don't know. And then apparently everybody wanted fucking Diet Coke because 5 minutes later they get back on the intercom and they're like, hey guys, we're out of Diet Coke. We'll bring more. And we're like, honestly, like, no one gives a fuck about the Diet Coke. Give us the fucking plane. Then they get on the intercom again. They're like, oh, flight blah, 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 to here. By the way, we now have more Diet Coke if that's what you wanted. And I just looked around and everyone around me was just chuckling. Like, they're annoyed. They're like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, this is why you're getting on the intercom for the fucking Diet Coke? Where is the plane? Anyways, we end up getting the plane, a different plane. I don't really know. I think it was the same plane, though. Just about 3.5 hours late. They're like, you're gonna start boarding at 10. Like, great. I was supposed to be home by now. I haven't even boarded the plane. This is so fucking annoying. We board the plane, right? You think we're gonna get into the air pretty quickly after that. Like, the pilot has been waiting to go. We're waiting to go. Like, let's go. The pilot gets on the intercom and was like, hey, sorry for the delay. Like, finally, we're here. Something like that. I don't know. And it was like, they had to do test runs. However they start the plane or whatever, that button, I don't know, isn't working, he was going on about. And he was like, so we have to manually do it. And I was like, okay, that's a little scary, right? Like, something on the plane isn't working completely right. And he was like, but it's fine once we're in the air and once we get it started, like, we'll be smooth sailing from there. And I was like, whatever, like, give me the fuck home if, whatever, right? So, we think we're going to take off soon after that, all of that. The flight attendants haven't come up and done, like, the little, like, oxygen mask, all of that information, so I was a little concerned there. Then the pilot gets back on the intercom and was like, hey, the truck just pulled up to get us gas. And this shit just pissed me right off. And I think it's just because everything else had gone wrong. I was like, why the fuck are you just now getting gas? The plane has been here for 3.5 hours. You could have gotten gas before then. So now we're sitting there for about 15 extra minutes waiting to get fucking gas on this goddamn airplane. And I get it. We need the gas. I want to get home. But why the fuck didn't we do this earlier? Anyways, we finally get up into the air. And honestly, from there, smooth sailing, no complaints. That was the best landing on a plane I've ever experienced. And it was, quote unquote, the worst airline. And honestly, a great landing. Obviously, the seats were less comfortable, all of that. Great stuff. But landing is probably the worst part about flying to me. Like, I don't really care about the takeoff. It's usually just, like, how aggressively they land. And this one was so smooth. Anyways, I know that a lot of people probably have pet peeves about airports. Everyone has that bad airport experience, all of that stuff. And everyone's a little different at the airport, too. Like, the type of person you are when you go to the airport, right? Like, I'm a type A. Like, I want to be there early. Let's get there 2 hours early. Get ready. We're good to go. I've kind of slacked back a little bit. I'm kind of more like an hour person now. Depending on where I'm flying not into, I guess, where I'm going, right? If it's at my home airport, I know it's really good. So, like, I'm in and out. If it's a different airport, I don't know if I'm trusting it, so I'm probably getting there earlier. But I know there's those people that, like, do, like, the airport theory stuff, and I don't know really what that means, but I think they get there, like, super last minute, how quickly can they get through TSA, and then they're, like, get to their gate, and it's basically time to board. That shit would stress me the fuck out. I don't know, if you are one of those people, how do you do that? How are you okay with, I don't know, that level of anxiety? How do you not get anxiety from that? Because a lot of the people that I see doing that, they are just so calm, cool, and collected, and I'm like, That's great. I could never do that. I do think it would be really fun to test it out one time, but it'd have to be a time that I really didn't care if I missed my flight. And honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to get to a point in my life where I'm like, oh, if I miss this flight, it's fine. I'll just catch another flight, right? Like, that'd be great, but I don't know if that's in my future. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to my rant about airports. If you have any rants about them, feel free to comment them, because I know there are a ton of problems with airports, TSA, all of that stuff. If you have TSA pre-check, is it worth it, to be honest? Because I'm really thinking about it, guys. But I hope you tune into my next podcast. Thanks, guys. See you later.